Alright, what's going on, everyone? It's time. This has been, like, refreshing working on this visualization stuff. I don't know what it means, okay? But I'm doing it. Um, I don't know whether I want to try to implement the surface shader today, or if I want to try and link the gas/volume shader to its relevant implementers. Right now, we have the uniforms being controlled by macros, but we might have to switch those around a bit because the way the parameters are going to be passed into the um, particle shader is going to be different than like the tile map shader. But to recap what happened last time, what we did last time, we now have like a gas shader, and I'll make upgrades to it probably at some point. But it has all the basic features now. We can control the emission, so we can make it glow, basically. It doesn't really look like it's glowing based off of this. But if I turn up the raw value, then it definitely does start to resemble actual like additive stuff. And that looks pretty good, even though we're still getting these like faded circles sort of around the different borders between the particles. That's probably something we can get around if need be. That looks kind of cool. But yeah, these could all be like all these random combinations I'm trying. These could all be like different elements if we wanted. This could be used to represent different elements. But no, I think it would probably be a good idea to work on the integration into the actual implementer first, because that way, I suspect we're probably going to have to change some things around here. And if I do it that way, I'll, be able to foresee that a little bit more before actually going to work on the surface shader. Does that mean I would try and implement it into the tile map as well before moving on to the surface shader? Yes, that's probably a good idea. So I guess that's what we'll do, but we'll probably focus on the particles today. Also, I really think I should have some sort of addressable asset system, kind of like in Unity, but in Godot. Which is basically just mapping all the assets or a selected category of assets to a name, which is probably just going to be the resource name. Well, no, I might specify an actual manual name for that. I think we can make it optional, but maybe that could involve like using the metadata. That could work. Then like every resource, if we wanted to reference it, maybe we add like some metadata here, where it's like a boolean. It says like can something. I'm not sure what word we'd use. Something like that. Oh my god, I gotta think about the entities and stuff too. Well, for that we just use the surface shader. Yeah. All of the shaders between the different implementers are going to be different. It's just we're gonna reuse a lot of code. That's why we made those include files. But again, those we might have to change. Where to start? Here's chemical particles. Now, ideally, we wouldn't have to make a scene to initialize this stuff. What's up, Azuki? Welcome. Got ads? Yeah, an ad break is currently going. So I can make $1 billion. But in order to do something like specifying the shader here, I would like to make like a reusable or like a reference. I want to be able to get a reference to one of the shaders. That would be like good. So honestly, I think it's probably about time we do this. Is there any better way I could do that? Like reference it in a way that wouldn't like break the reference when the name changes? Although, you know what? The name will be separate. The ID will be separate. I guess it'd be optional. But we can choose to provide a different ID, which could help mitigate that a little bit. But yeah, if I wanted to, how could I do something like that? I might be able to use a resource that references all other resources. You know what? I could do that. I could do that with the other system I had in mind. I just have to instead of using a resource path, just use like a reference to the actual resource. Welcome, Zuki. You've survived the ads. That might be the best way to do it, because then I could reference the resource directly. Well, want to see a funny dino clip? Sure, I'll look. I'll take a look. I don't know if I'm gonna show it on stream though. Oh, this is from his stream. Okay, hold on. It's time. I'm watching now. Is this I guess this is the Jurassic World Evolution 2. I'm noticing I notice he's negative $1.8 million in the red at the bottom right there. I don't know if that's like something you can escape in that game, that level of debt, but it seems like quite the challenge. Yeah, I don't know how escapable that is in that game. Like in City Skylines, if you go into debt, I guess you can keep taking out loans, but after a certain point it becomes like kind of difficult. Can you pay them back manually? I don't remember. No, I think it adds to like the cost. You released all the dinos into the outside. Oh, I see. Yeah. He needs to do what I would do in that situation. He needs to save every 5 minutes so that he has like a timeline so he can travel through the fourth dimension um to get to any point in his park's career, his park's lifetime. You can just go back as far as he needs to at any point. It would actually be kind of cool, a game where you could experiment with like time travel in that way. There's definitely games that do stuff like that. I don't want to say Outer Wilds, because Outer Wilds you can't really skip forward in time. It just kind of loops. But a game where you could actually go from like this point to this point, then back to this point, then here and then here, do something like that. That'd be cool. I guess that'd also mean you'd have to be able to go into the future though, which is like kind of hard to predict. You could make it so that every like NPC and everything in the game is like predetermined minus, you know, any effects the player's actions would have. But yeah, generally it's going to be hard to predict the future even in a game. Not something that's known to be particularly easy to do. Hold on, I gotta get the perfect camera angle. This is very important. Okay. Chemical particles. So I could make no, it would have to reference in some way. Jeez. Maybe I can make a custom script for that. Another clip, but I don't want to distract you too much. I appreciate that, Azuki. I'm away from my live right now. Dino, I looked at the clip that Azuki sent, and you're like more than $1 million in the red in the game. Do you think you'll be able to escape that? As someone who's never played the game before, it seems bad. It seems like a bad situation. Okay, we don't talk about that. Fair enough. Fair enough. What I meant to say was that you have $10 quadrillion at your disposal that you may use. And I was extremely impressed by how green the number looked on my screen. I'm doing Dino Escape thingy. Yeah, Azuki mentioned something about you like let the dinos out or something like that. The greenest, greener than the human eye can actually perceive. It was so green that it was radioactive. My screen became temporarily radioactive. Because that's how radiation works. Well, I guess what would that be? That would just be like a lot of green on the like a certain no, it would be a frequency. I don't know. Because brightness is like the amount. Think that'd be bad. Yeah. Probably. Probably right. I'll probably be live for a while. Alright, Dino. I forget we have this function, which is cool. It's a cool function. So I just had a thought. I was thinking, what if we had some sort of editor script that like allowed us to make references to resources and then like cache them somehow? That would be cool. That would be sick. We could store it. I guess we could store it in a resource, maybe, perhaps. Can dictionaries be saved? I think they can. You just there's no export interface for them. At least not in this version. I think there is in maybe 4.3 does have that. Maybe I'm thinking of well, maybe I have that in this version. I'm not sure though. I don't think so. No, I don't think we have that. I think it's one version away. Or maybe I'm thinking of typed dictionaries. No, typed dictionaries are in 4.4, I'm pretty sure. And they also, that update also includes the ability to author them in the editor. Okay, so what is the best way to do this? We need longer term solutions. I keep making like similar solutions to the similar problems, and I could just instead make one really good solution for all of those cases. I feel like is happening a lot. Also, how would we fetch the reference. Too much words? That's true. Like, how would we get it into the actual script? Might be able to use static members. English language. The English language could be optimized, I will say. All right, we need to turn everything into single syllable words. We need to do like a system where spaces or like conjoined phrases don't necessarily count as like separate words. That's what we need to do. So you can have like different components. You can build them to get like Latin or something like that. Or like what would the scientists do with Latin? And that way we could just turn like an entire sentence into like a single word based off of the different whatevers. And then over time the pronunciation for those would sort of smoothen out, you know? So like common phrases would just become like singular sort of statements. I have no idea. I'm kind of venturing into unknown territory here. But like I drank water bottle might turn into like some, you know, single word like, but we wouldn't write it down in the dictionary. You can't really have that without or you can't really have that change of pronunciation, that like further specification of that word without or with. You can't have that with all of the individual words and components still defined, because then people are just going to use the pronunciation of the individual words and components. Huh. We need a council for language or something. Making pizza right now. Sounds like an enjoyable activity. Kind of similar to the candy factory moment activity. All right. Chemical particles. Chemical particle. Right, how are we going to do this? Oh my god. So if we create a static member, could that like work? And how are we going to reference it? I guess we could reference it outside of the resource. How could we use static initialize? It would have to work. It would have to work in the editor. Oh my goodness. Okay, I have an idea. We could have like a type, right? We could call it resource reference. And then we like attach things. We can have a function that we can call to get the reference. And then we could store the actual data in like one resource that represents all the different scripts that have that type like associated with. Okay, I kind of have something going on here now. That would solve both problems. Yes. I've done it. I've beaten Godot. I've won Godot. Hold on, can we do generic types in GDScript? I don't think so. I don't think you can. Yeah, wait. No, that's is that C sharp? TypeScript. What the hell? What the hell? Okay. I don't think you can do that, really. All right. Idea. Plan. We're going to go to what? Okay, we're going to go to add-ons. Dragon Game Tools. Sure. We're going to make something. We're going to call this I don't know. Static resource, maybe? Script resource. Class resource. I'm gonna go back to my love, bye. Pizza? Or dinosaurs? Live. Oh, I'm gonna go back to my live, bye. Alright, Dino, see ya. Take care. I'm gonna go back to my love, pizza. I love pizza. That's funny. Yeah, what do I want to call this? Class resource, script resource. Now that my is getting clipped. This is good. I like this is the clip renaissance, okay? I pronounced it that way intentionally. I like the increasing amount of clips. It's free content for me. It means that it's basically like you guys are doing the work of making the YouTube shorts for me, which is good, I gotta do the, I wonder what that, like, ranking system was. Although I feel like it would be kind of like, okay, should I just say something like super bold here? Hold on. Let me try to say something that's correct. Let me try that instead. Maybe it just sounds bold. I feel like it's maybe slightly sociopathic to have like a ranking system for like how well you can clip the funny moment, like instead of enjoying the human aspect of it, which is like, oh, this is funny, it like sort of turns it more into like a competition, which I don't think there's anything inherently sociopathic about competition, but I think when it detracts from the actual social experience, then like maybe, perhaps, it's kind of lame, okay? It's kind of lame. I don't know if I want the ranking specifically. I don't know what that is. I might like turn that off or something. I don't even know if they're called classes in GDScript. Like when you use extends. I'm going to call them script resources. Script resource. Extends. Oh, what is it going to be? Thank you for the clip, Azuki. Extends. A rep counted would probably work, to be honest. We're going to have a function here. Going to be called get resource, which will return a resource. For now, we're just going to return null. And now we need like a script resource manager. They have to be static though. Yeah, I guess so. Do I have to? I'm gonna have to make them all tool scripts to do this. I hope not. I hope as long as I'm calling it from a tool script, I should be able to like use the code. You never know what is gonna happen here though. It is impossible to know how this works. Literally, you literally cannot like sit down for 5 minutes and just figure it out. You can't do that. Spawner inspector. Okay. Dragon game tools, enemy inspector, element inspector, spawner inspector. I'm going to make a new inspector. universal inspector. Well, oh, damn it. Okay, I'm gonna call it script inspector. We're augmenting the engine. Script inspector. Okay. Script inspector equals script inspector.new. I also kind of want to like create a kind of universal inspector system, which basically would just allow types to define their own inspector behaviors from within the script. It would be a lot easier than having to make an inspector every single time, which sucks. I hate it. In fact, Godot source code developers, I feel like that would be better if that was kind of like the behavior by default. Maybe you could extend from, like, or not. Interfaces. You need interfaces. You need to be able to implement an interface so you can get the inspector code from whatever type you're using. Static method. Have a static method that can return a class or something like that. That's basically like the inspector handler. And if the extended class implements the function, then give it the behavior, like include it in the global inspector plugin or whatever. Just do something like that. Come on. So I was I guess I haven't been playing it as much like within the last couple days, but Skate 4, right? This is kind of a random segue. Skate 4, the gameplay is pretty good. I like the gameplay. The soundtrack, I don't know about the soundtrack. I haven't listened to it enough. Cosmetics are lame. I don't like the cosmetics. But the writing in the game is so bad. It is very terrible. It is very bad writing. I was watching this video the other day, and like there are some lines in the game that it would seem like a human would not write. Like a human being would like not write those lines. I think they probably used AI to write some of the dialogue in Skate 4. Now, it's not like something I can prove 100%, but like if I had to bet my life on it, I would choose to say that they used at least some level of AI when making the dialogue. And then they got voice actors, I presume, to read the lines. It's like kind of a waste. It's kind of a waste of like voice actor effort, assuming they didn't use AI for that, which I don't think they did. But like, Skater Eyes is, it's so lazy. It's like so lazy and not self-aware. The term Skater Eyes, and like how the AI companion in the game will say like, "Oh, that's algorithmic." Like that, okay, that's beyond out of touch. That's like, maybe it's been like this for a long time, but there's something feels exceptionally bad about the writing in Skate 4. And Skate 3 did not have like this wonderful like Red Dead Redemption 2 super detailed storyline plot, but it had a soul. And Skate 4, I feel like, does not have a soul. It is a content machine game. It is a game that has spawned. It's like when Martin Scorsese said, okay, it's not It's not gaming. It's not real gaming. He said this. It's not real gaming. It's not. What's like a fancier word for gaming? I don't know if we even have a word like that, like a more like artistic way to describe game development without using like super general terms, like just saying art or something like that. Just I'm gonna insert whatever word that would be in there. It's not that. It's the writing is so bad. I've never played a game that has worse writing. I don't think even like games that are made for children, which are meant to be like extremely. Okay, games made for children can be actually witty. Okay, they don't have to be like this watered down like, oh, that's algorithmic. Whoa, like you can have both. But it's not witty at all. It's like it just seems like it's kind of forced in there. Seems like the dialogue in the game is forced in there. It's really I really don't like the dialogue in the game. Fortunately, that's not like the main fun thing about the game. Fortunately, it has like other things to offer. But the dialogue is so terrible. I don't know. I really feel like they used AI or something to write some of it. There are some like blatantly like what the hell are you saying lines in there. Like beyond the point of just like okay, yeah, rolling your eyes or whatever. No, there's like some things that are said that are like the a person would not write this. Like literally. Like I'm trying to remember exactly what one of the lines were, but it was so like it was like this they accidentally added like this innuendo into the game in one of the writing and just completely misused the term. And like they tried to make it into like another stupid, like goofy, like, oh, that's algorithmic. But it was the actual way people use it is like an innuendo for something else that you wouldn't probably want in that context. And it was, let me see if I can find it. Okay, hold on. Because now I feel like I brought it up. I kind of have to address this to you guys. Come on. Come on. Trying to remember what it was. Oh wait, is this it? Come on. No. No. Skate for bad writing. Bad writing. Specifically looking for the writing. Specifically looking for the writing. Come on. Come on. What? What? I know it's real. I know it's real. Oh my god. Where is it? I can't remember the line. Damn it. This is why I need like 7 intelligence agents in my chat at all time who can point me in the right direction towards these things. It's like one line. Come on. Hmm. Okay, let me go back to the original video I watched. We're doing this. We're doing the full research now. This is guaranteed to work. I should have just started with this. Frankenstein trailer, Guillermo del Toro. Dude, I do not know how to pronounce words. Guillermo. I haven't quite written that one into my noggin, okay? Give me a break. Give me a break. I know how to pronounce the last two words. No, not this stuff. No. No. I subscribed to the person who made the video. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I have so many subscriptions. Can't find anything here. This sucks. Oh my goodness. Did I subscribe? Oh, it's just alphabetically sorted, or is it most recent, please? Damn it. Damn it. Why? Who's that? Okay. Some of these people, I don't remember why I subscribed to them. This is such a tangent. Okay, I'm like, I can't give up now. I've already gone too far. I just need to focus. Are you serious? Am I like hallucinating this? Oh my god. This is so important to me, guys. This is so important to me. What? Really? I can't even find it in my subscriptions. This is terrible. This is terrible. Wait. Try a different account. Try a different account. Never know what's gonna happen. Damn it. No, it's not working. It's not working. Really? Okay, that sucks. Wait, I found it. Oh my god. I found it. Yeah, what's the funny line? I knew it. I knew it was the oh my god. I knew it. I knew it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Goohee, the YouTuber. Name. So apparently, in Skate 4, there is a line of dialogue that says, "Keep it raw dog street yo," which, like, if you have the context to know that term, I feel like you would automatically know, just like culturally, what it refers to. That specific term. But no, because it's like an AI or something, it like confuses that. No human would write that in the game. Okay, finally, I found the supposed line, but let me see if I can actually confirm if it's in the game, because I never saw it myself. Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any, like, actual confirmation, so it's possible wasn't in the game. Yeah, I'm seeing, like, different interpretations, though. Is that... Doesn't mean it's not in the game, but if that is in the game, and I would believe it based off of how bad the rest of the writing is, then it's like, yeah, it's probably the worst writing in any game I've ever played. Where worst or bad writing is defined as like just uninformed, not really saying anything, not really adding any pizzazz. Unintelligent. Basically like it kind of just makes you resent it. It's kind of like the information could have been delivered in any other way. Like the writing adds nothing besides just the literal information that is being bestowed upon you. So I guess it's like kind of like reading an article, but reading an article is different, right? Because they're trying in the writing in the game to like add funny quips and moments, or there is like that it's structured into the writing, I should say, but the actual quips themselves just offer like no value. So it's like wasted space. The writing's bad. Moving on. Okay, so we have a script inspector now. Now we have to like write the code for that. Oh, let me also make sure I'm removing it. Remove inspector plugin script inspector. Okay, we're gonna return object is GD script. Suppose I could also use script. Can we instantiate something from its script? I think you can. I think you can. Pretty sure you can. Element.text.clear edit element. No, we don't. Not a necessary function. Variable script equals object as element. Okay. Script. I don't know this. I don't know why it's still giving us like. Oh, I see. Is there any like static? No. Wasn't there another spot where we were doing something similar to this? I don't know. It might have been in the element inspector. Should we just be able to call it directly? Like if I go to, yeah, here's reaction static initialize. If reaction.instances equals a null or reaction.instances is empty. Yeah, but that's calling it with the actual name. But isn't this just shorthand for like loading the script? Like using the class name? Or is it different? We're referencing the script. We're not really referencing the type. Let me look up Godot call static function through script reference. Loads the script, and then it calls the static function. Will that work? Can you just call it directly on the script? Wait, are we even looking for a static? We're not looking for a static function here, we're looking for a static property. Yeah. I guess it should be like a similar process in that case. Has meta, has method, what is it? Has meta? Metadata, maybe? Has signal. We could also use like an ID system potentially, and make it not static. I'd prefer to not do that though, if possible. Can't we use get property list? Hold on. Jeez. My hair is behaving too much like hair. I guess we can try parsing the property. Okay, well I guess we'll do this again. GD script. Script equals object as GD script. Then function parse property. It's a lot of arguments. What is it doing? There's types, there's names, hint types, hint string, usage flags, wide. Let me try something else before we do this. Let's print script, get property list. What does get script property? I don't know what these mean. Oh my god, I actually have to look this up. GD script. Documentation. I want to find the actual literal documentation for GD script, the GD script type. No, that's not it. Here we go. All right, so there's the new function. Let me go back to the script type. Get script property list returns the list of properties in this script. There's also get property list, but that probably applies to object or like ref counted or something like that. So let me just try the script property list. Property list. Remember script redefine. Okay. Good. It becomes more efficient now. All right. Where are we gonna add this? Chemical particles. Let me close other tabs. Chemical particles. And let me just see if I restart the plugin. That's chemical collision. This is chemical particles. Reactant. Reactants. What if I go to reactant? Isn't there? Yeah, there's a static variable here. Can I find current ID? There's ID. Reactant. Name component. Name ID. Name force. Name pressure. Huh. Okay, I'm not seeing current ID. Let me just make sure it's not in there anywhere. Okay. So let me try the other property list. Seems like we're getting more that way. Name resource. Name resource again. Name resource local to scene. Name resource path. Am I looking at the right one? Name resource name. This is all resource specific stuff. Name script. Name source code. Name GD script. Script slash source. Name current ID. There it is. Okay. Whoa. The usage is kind of crazy on this. Kind of crazy. Okay, get script property list. Will that have like the links to the things? Okay, it won't. It's good. Object. Get property list. Get property list. Okay. We also have, no, that's a different one. Yeah, so it seems like the usage is where it's at. Nil is variant, is enum, default value. Wish I could like figure out with just my eyeballs what this means. What any of this means. Nil is variant. If property has nil as a default value, its type will be variant. Maybe it's like a different one. So like a static. I would like to see a static thing somewhere. This property is a script variable. Let me look this up. So this value minus 1,000 or 135,168. I guess I did that in the wrong order, but it gives me 4096. So that would be property usage script variable. So if I check for that, I think we should be good. Yeah, okay. And since we're parsing the properties of the script directly, we should be using this collection in this function. Okay, was that usage flag? What was that? It was usage. Okay. If usage flags and property usage script variable, then or forgetting syntax. If it's greater than 0, well that would probably do the same thing, right? Print name. Then just return whatever the hell. Return false. I think that's basically determining whether it is handled or not. It determines whether it displays it here, I think. Okay. Chemical particles. No, it still is doing the other thing. Get out of here. Okay, back to reactant. Oh my god, are you serious? Are you serious right now? We might not be able to do it in this way, but I assume if you try to use an integer as a boolean, if it's going to cast it to that, it'll just look if it's equal to 0 or not. But I'm not sure. What? Okay, well here it seems to work, so I guess I'm gonna do it like this. I think you can do it like this. Property dot usage. Let me look over here. Name and usage. Okay, okay. Does seem to be the correct wordage. Okay, there it is. Shows up. So now I'm going to say, well, I'm going to do the same thing here. If you should usage flags. Wait, can we set the variable? Oh, I don't know. Or can we like change the values of the static variable? How are we going to do this again? We kind of do have to assign an ID to it. Shoot. Is there a way we could determine it at runtime? I think we might have to pass in the script as a as like a reference, but it could work. All right, now let's see if this works. Cool. That gives us our static variable. Slash property. I might need to hydrate. But I don't have any hydration. Well, I do, but I'd have to transfer the vessel. I'd have to switch vessels. And I might just wait until the break. Property.usage. Okay, so yes, cool. What was the intended way we were going to use this? Right, we were going to use... We have to give it an ID somehow. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed, indeed. I guess we'd have to pass in the script. I don't know if there's any way I could do that in the instantiator, like get a reference to the script. I don't think so. I mean, I can accept that, I think. That will work. Okay. Script resource. We're going to have the constructor here. And can you do like implicit typecast? I don't know. Properties. We can use properties. Or setters and getters, whatever those are. I might use that. So I don't have to like call the function every time. Okay, yeah, let's add some arguments here. Let's add script. Can we do that? Can we even do that? I think so. We just have to pass in get script. Can you do that in a static constructor? Oh my god. I'm actually not sure. Get script. I imagine that get script would have to work on an instance of an object. Script is not exposed like most properties to get or set an object script. In code, use set script and get script, respectively. Godot get script in static function. Do I have to be worried about this? I definitely don't want to like specify our own resource path because that would kind of defeat the whole purpose. All right, maybe we'll figure it out somehow. Let's see. Scripts. That's all the information we really need right now. Yeah. And then we have to correlate it to a specific ID. Let's use a name for that. Let's not risk any like ID conflicts. So we'll have our ID here, which will be a string. Then we can initialize it. ID equals script get resource or get path. Resource path plus unique character plus name. Okay. Could probably have some static things in here as well. There was another one with the element inspector where we actually called a static function for reaction in reaction.instances.values. It's a static initialization function, basically. So, well, I don't know, actually. Chemical particles. Static function, static initialize. Print get script. Script. Oh my. Makes me angry. This might work though. No! No! Godot get script and static function. That is very sad. Wait. Wait. We've been saved. We can just reference the class name. Okay. Yeah, that should do it. It should work, right? Chemical particles. Print that. Print whatever that is. And I'm not even gonna test it. I'm not even gonna bother with that. Okay, solution has been acquired. Okay, script resource, ID, initialize, yep. Will it be statically initialized? How do these things work? Could we initialize it manually? The editor inspector stuff isn't going to work in game, so that's like, you know, an issue. It's like a problem. Property.name. Yeah, so right now it should print current ID. Let me go back here. We also have to check for the type of the property. Make sure it's or class name. Yeah. If property dot class name equals script resource print property dot name. Can we get like the value? I think we can try, but we can't get it like within the dictionary. All right, let me go over here. Chemical particles. And how are we gonna name this? I'm gonna say shader. We're gonna keep it simple. Also, the ad break's about to start, so I'm going to run that, and I'll be back in 3 minutes. But before we do that, what can I do? Can I do it? Okay, I'm gonna run it. I'll be back in 3 minutes. All right, we're back. Ooh. Whoa. Okay. I'm gonna settle down. Yeah, so for this, I don't know what the hell that was. Static. We're gonna use a static variable. Shader, yes, is going to be script resource. Maybe I could call it static resource. Shader script resource equal. Why don't I just do this? Script resource dot new, and this is how we do it. Okay, chemical particles. Give it a name. We're just gonna use the same name as this thing right here. The variable name. Okay, will that register? Let's see. Let's see. No. Is it even like parsing the type? Is it able to get the type? Okay, this was working before. What? What do you mean? Is it printing? Okay, it could be just printing nothing. Okay, I see. And let me print the entire property. Doesn't even have a type. Okay. What if I specified it this way? Script resource. It's not the most syntactically nice thing, I would say. Okay, well now it shows up. So I guess I have to specify it this way. Interesting. I can use like a macro or something like this, and this are all kind of just like workaround things. However, this is like a really good functionality to have, I would say. Like this is going to be OP. Once we get it working, it's gonna make our lives so much easier. If property.class name equals script resource, yes, print property name. So we just tested that and it worked. I'm gonna do it one more time because that would be sick. Okay, it worked. Now I'm assuming at this point it does not have a value. We might have to make it a tool script for that. Does it have a constructor or anything like that? I don't necessarily think it does. Could I use the compiler for this? No. I should refrain. What is the next step here? Yeah, let me try this. Print s dot get property dot name, which is probably going to return null. Okay, but then of course, if we add tool at the top, for some reason, the actual reason is because it initializes in the editor. We get a thing! What? What? That's crazy. No way. So I guess we're gonna have to make them all tool scripts. That's fine. That's cool. Doesn't matter. It'll still work. It'll still work. Is there any better way I can do this? Yes, actually, there is. Assuming we use consistent formatting here, there should be a way. Yeah, okay. We don't have to make it a tool script, but it means we're gonna have to recreate the ID and like use the same convention here every single time, which, I mean, that'll work. So yeah, we could say this is the wrong script, I think. Variable ID equals s get script or resource path plus colon, which is how we're doing it in the other one, plus property.name. So now we're going to have to make sure we format it in that way. Yeah, we'll print the ID. Sure, we can do that. But this will basically save us from having to like make every single one a tool script, which I imagine could be bad for a variety of reasons, or not ideal for a variety of reasons. Like we could do it, but you know, we would have then all of these types floating around in the editor, all of this extra memory. It's not, again, not ideal. So let me open up chemical particles, and that is what the ID is for that specific script resource. So the idea is now we should be able to add a property that we can edit, and then like change the resource reference or something. I think there's a resource picker node in that we can use in the editor. Guys, I think the script is gonna just, or this the stream is gonna turn into just writing this little utility script here. But that's okay. This is gonna be very helpful once we have it. I'm like, this is what I need to do. I need to take the time to slow down, breathe in the fresh air, and like make things that will help me. Okay. Not because they're cool or because I need to get the game done. No, because they're gonna help me make the game later. I need to think macroscopically. Admittedly, the scope of the game has changed since the beginning, but you know, at the very least, from now on, that's gonna be included into my mindset, which is always growing because it's a growth mindset. It's like, what do I do here? Oh, yeah, this is actually okay. This is the next step. We're gonna use an actual resource for this. We're gonna make a script. We're gonna call it script resource references. That's what it's gonna be called. Extends resource. Class name script resource references. And we will have, I assume this works, references, which is going to be a dictionary. And that will basically correlate IDs to different resources. Yeah. Reference. Okay. Yes. This is going to be an export variable. Which again, I think that works. I think we've done that before. All right, script resource references. And here's what we're going to do. It's an ingenious strategy. We're going to go to the correct script. And we're going to do this. We're going to print load, or I guess we should get this correct first. Get script that's annoying. Okay, I'm gonna use many fingers here. Get base directory. What is that? look like? Resource slash add-ons slash, that is like exactly what I was looking for. I get rid of this, get rid of this. Base directory. Okay, let's use the initialize function. Can we use the ready function? I don't know. Editor inspector plugin. Wait, let me just look if it has it. Ready, okay. Start? No. We'll have a variable here, variable references, which is going to be script resource references. And then we'll say references equals load. Use that, and then we'll add slash script resource references. So I could have used an absolute path, but I feel like this is going to make it a little bit easier by using a relative path. Make sure I'm using the right extension. So this is like the one spot we're going to use a path in this way. But once we have this one path, we never have to worry about it again. We just have to make sure that this one path, or this one thing doesn't change. Okay, that's going to be our approach here. I'm excited. This is our moment. I gotta verify this, make sure it's like actually working. So, because we do have the resource now. Print references. Okay, project. I think we have to do it like this. Dragon Game Tools, turn back on. We got the resource. Fantastic. So now we can use this at any point in the script. ID equals s dot resource path. Property name. I'm thinking. Okay. Here's what we'll do. Make a class. We're gonna call this script resource property. We'll add whatever we need into here. So variable name, gonna be a string. Variable, there's another thing, ID string. And then down here we will have resource properties, which is going to be an array of script resource properties. And then we'll create the instance down here. Property equals script resource property equals script resource property dot new. srp dot name equals property dot name dot name. srp dot id equals id. And in fact, probably just do it like this. Save a couple lines. Yeah, then we append. I also want to clear it here. Resource properties dot clear, because this is kind of like an interface thing that we will use to do interfacing. But yeah, let me verify the collection. It's gonna give us, I think it'll just give us ref counted, but I mean, it's better than nothing. What? Oh no. Array is in read-only state. Are we getting some kind of infinite loop here? I don't know. We ruined the editor. No. Oh no. Could this relate to tool scripts not tooling correctly? Could they not be doing the toolage? Oh, we're also gonna need a singleton here. Ugh. Like a reference to a singleton. Yeah. Which would be a static function. Okay. We can do that. Script resource. Static. No. What the hell? Static function get singleton. Is going to return script resource references. And then we'll just copy what we have in the script inspector here. Yes. Instead of get script, we're going to use our new technique that we've discovered. Okay. So now we're just doing this so it can be reusable, but once we have this line of code once, it should be fine. We can use it anywhere. If we load it multiple times, is it going to give us multiple copies? I kind of hope not. In fact, just to make sure that's not what's going to happen, I'm going to do this. If singleton needs to be static. Cheap viewers. Stream boo. You don't know my stream. You don't know me. You don't know my stream, okay? You come in here with your shit. Alright? I'm not that streamer, okay? I've been doing this for 2 years. Okay? I'm a veteran. Jesus. There are some people who have been streaming for like decades now, right? Multiple decades, perhaps. Like streaming is the streaming lore is starting to pile up. Okay, it's becoming history. History is happening as we exist. Okay. If singleton equals null, then singleton equals this thing. Then we return it. Singleton, which has to be static. Okay. Now we can go to our script inspector, and instead of this, we can say script resource references. Get singleton. Alright, and is this still gonna crash? I hope not. Why would it? Okay, now it's working. So we have an array with all of our stuff. Yeah, it's a ref counted. Okay, go back to script inspector. Now, this is like a way to add a custom control. Yeah, okay. we will say. I guess I could do it here. Indeed, indeed. Why wouldn't I do it that way? All right, we're gonna try that. We're gonna try that. I was thinking I might have to use it like in another function, but we don't. So variable picker equals resource picker. There we go. Dot new. Add custom control picker. On something select resource selected dot. No. I gotta make sure we have like the right function here as well. Do signal. Or I gotta make sure we have the right signal here. I'm also looking in the documentation to make sure I have the correct function that I'm calling on signal. Okay, connect. Yep. Can I use an anonymous function here? Is that a thing in Godot? Pretty sure it is. Wait, resource selected. I'm guessing that's going to be a string. But, you know, it could be an actual reference. Probably not. Probably not what's going to happen. Is this valid? Does this work? Hold on. I'm forgetting how to do lambdas. Godot lambda. That's like what it's called, right? Right. Yeah, I think I'm doing it fine. Okay. Print resource. Thank you. Let's also just make sure our references are working. Because we did change the methodology we used there. So we don't want that creeping up on us as like a bug. Do it just in case. Oh. Here we go. So then we could load, okay. Can we specify the type? There might be a way to provide that somehow. I really don't know though. Might be a better way to do this. If we can make custom annotations, that would be helpful. Okay, load anything. Test GPU data. Sure. All right. Resource selected didn't work. So let's try resource changed. My new favorite function. Okay. It might not have actually changed that time since we used the same resource. So let's use GUI.gdscript. Okay. This is bullshit. I hate it. Wait. I know. I know what we have to do. What? Can I convert? Oh, it is an object. Okay. Can I? No, we should probably use an object. But we already know it's going to be a resource. I guess we'll do this. Print resource dot resource path. Okay. Look over here. Oh, we need to load it as well. We could. There's probably an easy way to do that. With the way I'm about to like put all of this together. Okay, it gives us the texture. I should probably give this a text label. So yeah, let me make would it be a VBox container or an HBox container? I'm guessing probably HBox container. Yeah, okay. We'll add custom control HBox. And then we'll say down here HBox add child picker. And then here for the label, label.new, label.text equals property.name. Capitalize, I'm not worried about that right now. Format, make look nice. Ideally, something like that. Make sure we add it as a child. HBox, add child, label. This should be it. This should be the way. What the hell? Why is it doing that? Okay. HBox. Is it the HBox or is it something else? Anchor. Anchor right equals 0. HBox.anchor left equals also 0. What's up, Cricket? Thank you for the raid. What's up, everyone? Welcome. We're making a utility script. We're making a utility script right now so I can reference resources in a cool way with a static variable. So I don't have to use the load function, which is evil. I have an aversion to it. Thank you for the follow, little Carlito. They are actually quite going indeed today, Cricket. It's been a pretty good stream. I too hate load and preload. Yeah, it's like if you change the name of the resource, it breaks your scripts. If you change the position of anything, that like goes down to that folder or that resource in the hierarchy, it breaks it. Not great. So I'm trying to use the actual resource like export resource referencing system now to reference them, and that is what I'm currently doing. So this is how far I've gotten. I'm currently trying to implement the UI now for it. But like I have a singleton that's going to keep track of all the references and stuff. And once I have this, what I'm actually doing, the game I'm making right now, I'm actually working on a chemistry engine, a very cool one. I would say it's the most, for lack of a better term, complex chemistry engine I've seen in a game. And within that, what I'm kind of working on right now is the visualization for that. So I just made here. Let me show you. Let me show you guys. Let me show you what's going on here. I just made this particle shader. Well, this gas shader. I'm gonna have a surface shader and a gas shader, but it's basically going to be used to represent any sort of chemical gas in the game. Now, the shaders are going to be different depending on the context, but I'm using functions that each implementer, that each shader will reuse in different ways. So humble, indeed, indeed. I'm doing a jam game with a friend. Stanley Parable meets Getting Over It. I do know what Getting Over It is. I've heard of Stanley Parable, but I do not know exactly what it is. But that sounds cool. Indeed, indeed. Yeah, so this was kind of annoying because I needed a shader that could use additive blending, mix blending with alpha, and also just normal mix blending with the background, and you couldn't do that with pre-multiply alpha. What I ended up having to do is use pre-multiply alpha, use a depth texture, or use the screen texture, and then like basically blend between the effects depending on the different parameters. But I think I got it to a state that will work. like visually. This is what high emission values look like, and that kind of looks like fire. If I used a better noise texture, it would definitely look more like fire than if I used a worse one. That's 15. I didn't mean to set that. That looks fine though. Yeah, it can also, that's connected to like the density. And I think it works. I was going to try to show how the emission works with the volume stuff. You can kind of see it here. But it kind of looks like the emission is lighting up the gas, which is nice. I kind of tried to make it based off of like volumetric shaders in a way. That's kind of what I'm trying to think of it as, but instead of using actual three-dimensional volumes, we're using two-dimensional textures, which represent the volumes. But yeah, this is going to be used to basically make any kind of element. So if I wanted to make lightning, which if you have not been following the progression of this monstrosity that is this chemistry engine, basically an element is just like any predetermined configuration of like atoms and energies. So like lightning can be considered an element, that state, which I guess lightning would be electrons like moving between atoms or something like that. But it's basically like a template, okay? Elements are like templates. That's what you can think of them as in this universe, in this game. Where you play as a dragon. That's like what it's about. For some reason, I know. I think I know what's going on. I think we have octaves. Yeah, we don't want that right now. Fractals, whatever. Can we set it to none? There we go. Okay, turn the frequency up. Turn the frequency up. And then set the type to not distance squared. Isn't there like an exponential one somewhere? Oh, that looks kind of interesting. This is basically what I'm doing right now. This is, okay, Euclidean squared. This is basically the process by which I might make an element. Now I'm going to make changes to the shaders and like add animation parameters and stuff like that, but this is the general idea behind it. We can basically represent any element, and you know, that kind of looks like lightning. Kinda, sorta. Work in progress. Here, let me add domain warp. I think that would help. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Why is it doing this? Turn the frequency down? Turn the frequency up? I think we have to turn it down. Put it to like 40 billion. Okay, no octaves for that. Thank you. 500. Oh, that's interesting. That looks kind of cool. I don't know. Aurora Borealis elements? I don't know. But it's cool because it can represent a lot of different things. That's kind of the philosophy behind this shader. Hold on. 10th of that. Whoa. What kind of element would this be? Magical runes. No, the textures are carrying a lot of the detail here. But yeah, this is like one way you can represent the element. Volume shader. Eventually I'm going to have a surface shader as well. Yeah, if I turn this down, maybe like 20. Okay, we need to turn the frequency up. There we go. This is the one. This is the one. A little bit more. Little bit more. No, what did I just do? There we go. Okay, 7. Cool. Something like that. And then mess with the density a little bit. Increase or decrease the frequency here, maybe. Ooh, I don't know. Okay, it's definitely brightest in the center, but that's intentional. I'll probably add different fall-off functions eventually. Yeah, and then we can also control the particles themselves, which I made a custom engine type for these because I wanted collision. I forget exactly why I did that. Oh yeah, origin shifting. I added an offset feature here, which isn't working in the editor, but it totally works, I promise. And I'm using this, or this is also another like control thing I can use to create different elements. So this could be like a lightning element. Imagine this, but like cooler looking or more lightning like once I add more features to the shader and once I tweak these parameters a little bit more. I think I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this. Yeah, if I wanted red lightning for some reason, it's kind of cool. It looks cool. If there would be any chemistry engine related reason I'd have red lightning, I could just come down to the shader here and change. Okay, please let me okay, cool. Oh no. Okay, make it red. Set this to like 10. But then like add a little bit of blue. Add a little bit of green. There we go. Okay. So that would be like red lightning if you wanted that. But yeah, I also would like to animate the volume density texture. There's also an emission color texture. I haven't really used that yet, but it is a feature I added. I'd like to animate this texture. I'd like to add perhaps like a sine waving effect that you can turn on and off for like fire. I think that would look good. But yeah, this is supposed to be able to represent like any gaseous element in the chemistry engine. And yeah, I'm currently working on. Well, I was what am I doing again? Where am I? Yeah, I was trying to get it. Now I'm trying to reference the shader in the chemical particle script, which is going to be one of the implementers, as I'm calling them. And that's why I'm making this this UI thing, this editor script. That's the wrong. Okay, chemical particles. All right. So for some reason, it is not showing the preview. I'm gonna try and change the size of the H box. It seems like it's already being set. What if I try like fill or horizontal size flag grow horizontal equals true? Is that the magical property? I can't tell. Okay, let me ensure that H box is expanding. That anchors and offsets preset. Full, oh my god. Preset, full rectangle. 100% rectangle. Okay, that's, I think that's working. It's not the label. Size flags? Expand and fill. Both. Why is my eye itching? What's happening? There we go, okay. I don't want it to get cut off if the property name becomes too long, but this should work for now. Yeah, we get the preview there. So now it's printing the path of the property. Script inspector. Yeah, so at this point, I think we can say singleton dot, or hold on. Is it references or resource properties? References. References dot references. Very good naming on my part. Let me see what I have in the script. Okay, references, and that's a dictionary. Append append, insert. I think I can do this. References, ID, srp.id equals resource. And I think we can export dictionaries in this way in 4.3.1 rc.rc. Official version. .rc official version. So, I mean, at this point, besides loading the resource back in, which we can do this way, I hope. If it's null, it should work too. But this will load it back in. Yeah, we get the same ID, so it should, like, work. Okay, we get an error. Why? Script inspector, line 42. Invalid access to property or key on a base object of type dictionary. On a base object of type dictionary. The dictionary may not be instantiated, I guess. Invalid access to property or key. It's srp.id, so that should be a string. I could try this. Dictionary nil. Wait, what? I can do the thing here? Oh my god. Oh. Okay, I think it actually won't work if it's null. Right? Is that what's... yeah, 42. Okay. If references.references.has srp.id, then you will do the magic. All right. Moment of truth, chemical particles. Wait, I was already on that. Doesn't count. So we don't have a shader. Now if I load the shader, which is a texture, then I leave, and I come back, what happens? Incredible. So now we can do that. Yeah, let me make sure. There's another thing I have to do here. I'm going to go to the actual script resource and get the reference to the resource here. So, because we synchronized everything, we can say resource equals script resource references get singleton dot references ID. I don't even think we need this function anymore. All right, now if I go to chemical particles, see. Yeah, shader, script resource, physics process. Let me print shader.resource. Okay. Well, we're going to use a more advanced method here. Console.log. Highly advanced. It is, oh wait, no, it's print new line. Okay. Run the project. Will it give us our resource reference? Let's see. If we get this, when we get this to work, I should say, it's going to be like very helpful in terms of general development. I bothered to make my owner logger, and then they release one in 4.5. Oh, you know what? There's the there's the print function. I wonder how it differs from that in 4.5, but 4.4 is when they added the compositor, right? I know the compositor is like really OP, but right now I'm in 4.3. Maybe I'll try and update this to 4.4 and then to 4.5 at some point. Also, those shaders you saw at the beginning there, those were old. Those are outdated now. Yeah. Sometimes I wish I had access to the compositor, but the next game will. Oh, did it print the thing? I gotta add the actual breath upgrade here. So yeah, in this game you play as a dragon. This is the game, guys. It's printing null. Interesting. Do I have to save the resource whenever I set the value? I might have to. I didn't know I had this ability in 4.3. Okay, well that is the correct ID. Does get resource path work in... I don't know if get resource path is going to work in builds or not. Let me look that up really quick. Does get resource path, or I guess just resource path, work in build? Like, will it return the same value at least? It's not, I'm not trying to load the resource. Wait, am I trying to load the resource? I might be. I might be trying to do that. Anyways, the thing here works. Let me make sure it's saved. I'm also going to go to the chemical particles. Let me console, print new line, script resource references, get singleton dot references dot size. I guess the ID could be different, perhaps. I might want to print the keys. That's might be what I want to do. Is it loading the resource? Hold on. Yeah, that's why we're using this system, so it like automatically loads it and stuff. Oh my god, okay, it's working. Maybe it just didn't save before. So let me it works now. That's cool. Yeah, that basically, we got a resource reference, and this is the method I'm using now. So we're not changing an export variable on an actual instance of like a resource or anything. We're changing it on the script itself. So I can just go to like chemical particles now, change this shader to whatever I want, and then get the reference for any instance in the script, which is pretty cool. I don't have to use resource load anymore. Evil. Evil function. Never use it. Unless you're using it in a good way. Which it's kind of difficult to do, to be honest. It never feels like a safe bet. That's why I always use like resources, actual instances of resources to reference things. But this is good. Now we can just do it directly from a script. What else do I want to... Yeah, I want to make sure I'm saving the resource. Let me go to the script inspector. Resource saver. Okay, cool. Save references. Let's change this. We can change it to the actual shader now if we want. Do we want to use... Okay, we do want the actual shader itself, not as opposed to the shader material. So we would drag this into our reference. That would become the new reference. And then we can make a shader material using that shader, which I don't think would make the shader recompile. No. And then we should be able to like use it at that point. So now we can just apply this shader directly onto one of our particles. It's kind of cool too because when you select one of the scripts, it opens it, but you also get the inspector view on the right here, so you can kind of automatically works in a way so you can edit both of these simultaneously. So they're like automatically side by side, which is nice. Now I don't like that I have to do this thing where I pass these into the constructor manually. I wonder if there's a better way to do this. Maybe, no, yeah, I also have to provide the name of the property. So, there's no way around this right now. Maybe if there's another way I can get the IDs, but ultimately I do need the ID to be, like, relative to the type it's being added for. Well, our system is working now. I will say, script resource. Now, in terms of performance, it'll probably be fine because we're using it on static variables, which initialize all at once, usually. And then as soon as we have the script resource, it just turns it into a resource reference here, which we can get as many times as we need. So in terms of like looking it up from the dictionary, it shouldn't be that performance heavy. And I don't see myself adding more than like 500 different references. Like it's not gonna get out of hand, I don't think. I might add more than 500 references, but that'd be a lot of code. But yeah, we've added a new tool to our arsenal. This is it's kind of nice. I was saying earlier, if there's like a secret Godot source code developer watching this, I would appreciate if they added a feature like this to the main branch, the main thing, build. Now you do have metadata, which can you reference an object here? You can reference, okay, you can reference a resource in the metadata, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to ignore that fact. We're going to move on. Okay, this is more concise. This is cooler. Okay, I don't want to use metadata. That feels unsafe. Like I've never even seen this type in my life. Int 64? I'm sorry, I thought we were using exclusively 64-bit numbers in this engine. Time to refactor again? Yeah, I gotta change all my... I have like so many things where I feel like I've already written implementations for them and I kind of remake them for different types. So I just have like 7 variations of the same utility script in different spots. I feel like you get a lot of that with editor scripts. Another thing I wanted to do was make a universal editor script, which just allows you to specify like the on parse begin functions and stuff like that directly in the type you're editing. So instead of making an inspector for chemical particles, I could just write the functions in here, and maybe I'd make it a tool script or something like that. Or at the very least, if you want to like organize it into separate scripts, not have to make a plugin. Although you can technically add all of these things yourself if you want to. Like you have enough control over the engine to do that. It's just you have to make one really good editor script initially, and then you're good to go after that. Okay. So I guess I could try adding the shader to the chemical particles at this point. Does the breath emitter have any material right now, or is it invisible? I think it's probably invisible. We also need to initialize the CPU side of things, like the actual particle parameters. It's still using the old shader. Okay. Is it using the circular collision now? I don't remember. I mean, we have this right here. Oh, we're turning into chemical collisions. We're not quite there yet. Okay. Yeah, so we should be able to initialize the visuals for this now completely based off of what our system is. So in the chemistry engine, you have elements, you have components, and you have systems. Elements are, well, I described elements before. They're pre-made. They're like templates for components, basically. But more abstractly, more generally, they are just pre-configured configurations of like different matter and energy levels. So like lightning could be an element, snow could be an element. Then you have the components, which is just an instance of an element, basically, and any relevant instance information you have there. Then you have systems, which contain components, and systems. There are multiple kinds of systems. Object-oriented programming. And you have systems that represent like hull shapes, and then just systems that are just contiguous bundles of different components. And yeah, that's what a system is. And then above the systems, you have like in a more loose definition, because we're not really using a super strict inheritance hierarchy here, but you have implementers, which basically create the systems and like handle the collisions and stuff. And when we have like rigid body collisions and stuff, we'll propagate those down. You can actually see an example of the propagation here. So this is basically taking the positions of all the different CPU particles and overlapping shapes, and then bunching all those results together, seeing what we're colliding with, and then this is how we turn it into the initial chemical collisions, which basically collides our system here with, you know, whatever we're intersecting with, and vice versa. And then we do a bunch of cool calculations that do things, and then the information goes back up, and then the visuals or whatever. That's the idea. Yeah, let me go to the breath emitter for a second. Where are we? Okay, particle.material equals particle material.duplicate particle.material. And what is particle right now? It's okay, it's chemical particles. We're initializing all the CPU stuff. Spawner.onOriginShift.connect on shift. Particle.offset emitted particles. This offset emitted particles. That should be happening in chemical particles already. Can we move that behavior into chemical particles? That would be cool. Yeah, we're gonna want that behavior like no matter what, so. I'm gonna move that into here. Function ready. On shift. Get rid of it from here. And I will make sure it's still working. So we have origin shifting in the game right now. And part of the reason I created my own CPU particle Frankenstein variation is so I could offset the particles with the origin shifting, like globally. So that's what this is for. Yeah, we should be able to just call it on ourselves now. Okay. Let's make sure that's working. And then once we make sure that's working, we will check the material. Or we'll change it. We'll change the material. It will be changed. Alright, I gotta make sure the actual origin shifting is working. Okay, there was an origin shift right there. Okay, it's still working. That's good. Yep. Alright, so that works. What happens if I get rid of the material? And we'll move this part into the chemical particle, which is an implementer. Implementers, so when I say like system, and I say component, and I say element, those are all types. But implementer is a more general term that isn't necessarily restricted to any type hierarchy. It's just anything that basically integrates into the chemistry engine. Yeah, I could see like with like smoke or something, if the temperature is high enough for the smoke, we do some sort of like physics calculation to get whatever the color temperature would be there and like how much light it's emitting, and then we just adjust the emission based off of that, and then we have like heat glowing already. Just with that one calculation. And then we just do that like 20 times for 20 different things, and then we'll have like a pretty good visualization system. Okay, so it's just white squares. Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if I wonder if sound could integrate into the chemistry engine at all. I mean, it's gonna have to, I suppose. Yeah, you know what? It probably will. It probably will, to a certain extent. Why does fire sound like that? I wonder. But we could look at like general trends within different elements, like approximate the behavior of fire, and like get a value for that, and then based off of that value, we just turn up the fire sound volume or something like that. It's totally gonna work. I'm not in denial. This is a totally manageable system. It's, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, I have one more snooze left on the ad break, so we're gonna make this quick. Chemical particles. Okay. So, material equals, and we'll probably cache this at some point. Shader material.new. Material.shader equals shader.material. Material dot resource. Okay. Are there any parameters I want to set right now? Let's just see what this does. Let's see what this does. It's gonna do something. I think it's gonna turn it into like spheres. That's kind of like the default behavior. It's gonna use the default parameters, which I think is gonna be like black spheres, but like it's gonna look kind of like black smoke. It's gonna look like a thing or something. Kind of like these little gray smudges. But it's using our new shader now, so that's cool. And the velocity and stuff like that can be determined by the breath emitter. Or, you know, we might change it based off of things, or like what happens with the chemicals. We might have to add more logic into the C++ side of things. Okay, can I do something cool? Oh yeah, hold on. Now we can do another test of our resource system here, but let me call this density texture. This is not how we're going to end up doing it, but for testing purposes, this is what we'll do. Go over to chemical particles, and we'll load something. This is not ideal. Okay, let me look up noise. We'll use the fire noise. Copy path, load, paste. Okay. That works. Now, what is the actual parameter name? We do still have our test particle. Yeah. And that'll let us see the parameter names in a nicer way. So this is volume density texture 1, which 1 means it's the first layer. Material set shader parameter volume density texture 1 density texture dot resource. And we have these other things here. So material dot set shader parameter volume emission. What's up, Okapi fan? Welcome. I don't know if you were part of the raid or not, but welcome either way. Volume emission 1. Maybe I should call it emission color. You weren't? I see. Oh, is that a is that specifically a Silk Song thing next to your name, like a Silk Song badge, or is that from just Hollow Knight? Can't tell. I have not played Silk Song. Yeah, so the emission can be... Do I have to make a color? Yes, I do. Color... Are we going to use RGBA? Yes, okay. R is going to be 10. G is going to be 5. No, let's do 3. Blue is going to be 3. The alpha is going to be 1. And also, I don't know if that's going to matter. Is this a vector 3? What is this? I guess we could do either. Let me use a vector 3. Okay, so this should look sort of like fire. And actually, you know, this is pretty concise, all things considered. But eventually we're going to base this part off of what's in the system here. I was working on my own project and finally got through the struggles, but I looked up and, well, it's 3 a.m., so none of my friends were awake. Anywhere to be happy with? Where did time go? That's true. Yes, Silksong badge I can swap to something else. It's a cool badge. It's a cool badge. I don't know how badges work on this platform. Okay, well, this should give us something that looks like kind of like fire. So let's see. Let's see if our shaders are working. This is the moment. The moment is here. Nice. I'm getting a little bit of performance lag. It's probably related to other things. Okay, I'm going to do something extremely advanced here. Turn off the ads manager. No more ads for anyone in the stream ever again. I need more time. I need more time. Twitch ads, okay. Yes, it's the lizard. I don't know the last time you saw the lizard, but a good amount has changed. Oh my goodness, the collision is way off now for the old system. That's part of the old system, so you can ignore that part. probably want to use like some sort of step function as well, like we're using with. I think visually the old fire shader does look better. We need to get it more to that point. That'll be like our aspiration, our shader aspiration. Probably about half a year ago, not a full year ago. Yeah, it's been a while. Whoa, 10? What is this? TwitchCon 2025. I need badges. Can I get like super cool? The super cool badge? For doing something for some reason? It represents something. It would if I had it. Fire's like kind of red right now. Also, we need to change the like the fall off a little bit. Because right now it looks a little too circular. That being said, I mean, I'm pretty happy with the result so far. This is just the first step. And I still have to make the parameters dependent on the actual the system. I don't have the super cool badge, so can't tell you how you'd get it. Yeah, it's probably some way. TwitchCon 2024. I like the TwitchCon 2024 one visually more than the 2025 one, which is just 10. Maybe it's like a 10-year anniversary, but the 2024 one is like a windmill, which is cool. But yeah, so what this means, guys, for everyone watching, is we did it. We just beat game development forever. What is this one? 2022. That one's even nicer. Well, I'd have to think a little bit more about that one. To basically, if we're doing like a tournament, I'd have to think a little bit more to decide if the windmill is better than the flower or the flower is better than the windmill. I love the tulip more. It's definitely more vibrant. It pops out more for sure. All right, well, I am going to, if we have enough viewers, I'm going to do a raid. Yes. Because the stream is now coming to its conclusion. I know who we can raid. I know who we can raid. All right. This is our time. What are they working on right now? It looks like they're playing jam games. That's cool. You're welcome, Okapi fan. I'll be live tomorrow. We will start actually integrating the shader into the chemical stuff to make it actually dynamic, but we're ready. We're ready to go, guys. We're ready. We're ready. We're here. But yeah, I'm going to raid that man Robin, who is playing jam games right now. Looks cool. Looks like maybe some sort of survival game. But yeah, they're a really cool streamer. Send the good vibes. I'm starting the raid now. And I always get like nervous now that I'm accidentally going to use the ban command ever since when I banned Small Block Boy by accident, but I've learned from my mistakes. But yeah, I'll be live tomorrow. I will see you guys then. Thank you everyone who stopped in, and thank you again, Cricket, for the raid. Take care. See you later. I don't know what this hand gesture was. It's like kind of a, you know what I'm trying to do. Okay, see you guys later. I'm sending you in now.